It may sound strange, but the last part of the series took so long to release because I could not decide between which pure tank to herald as one of the best jungle teachers. They all bring forth something worthwhile, and their effectiveness varies according to tons of different little factors. I gotta assert that I am speaking specifically about pure tanks, and not bruisers who can act like tanks. This means champions such as Wukong and Dr. Mundo aren't being counted in this. At first, I started off with a pure tank triangle of Nautilus, Amumu, and Sejuani. 3 tanks that are essentially the same thing, but they go about doing the same thing in different ways. Then I realized, you know what? So when Zack was released, he sort of threw a wrench in this and changed the whole jungle tank dynamics. He's that kind of tank that does everything a tank would want to do, but not as perfect as everybody else. He's that jack of all trades sort of tank. This led me to heavily consider Zack as my final champion for this list, but then I realized when to pick jungle when I was doing when to pick jungle Zack, and found myself thinking about the times I would want to pick him over much more focused jungle tanks. I started to list which tank I would use in which situations, and I then just figured out, you know what? Every tank can be picked into almost every team composition and against almost every enemy team composition, but the effectiveness varies greatly. So once again, I found myself debating which tank would be the best to promote as a strong teacher, but I could not decide between them. They each teach something, and learning them all can lead you to understand matches better than any other group of champions. They all can teach you proper itemization, they can teach you how to initiate properly, and they all can tend to have strong ganking tools, and they're varied enough that how you go about doing each job differs enough that they're going to teach you a very unique experience. Sorry for that. With that in mind, I decided to promote all the jungle tanks as the best jungle teachers. Hit up the article as I will go through every single jungle tank as best as I can and note their strengths and weaknesses. And as far as I'm concerned, the definition of a pure tank is that they can be carried solely by their kits, as they provide their own steroids, such as resistances, health, or some form of damage reduction, and of course that they come packing a lot of utility in exchange for having relatively low damage. They can, for the most part, survive the game naked and be useful throughout the entire course of the game in some way. And the thing is, they all tend to vary in effectiveness in different little things. You know, one jungle tank is better at one thing over another one, but they all tend to be, useful in every team composition because they still fill the roles or jobs that a tank needs to fill, like initiation and peeling. They just are better at some things than they are at others. And all that colorful, abundance and versatility between the tanks just makes them so much more cooler to learn. Some of you may not agree in my definition of a pure tank, or the fact that I'm going to exclude some champions from it, and if you don't, then you can give me a well-formulated argument in the comments below. Otherwise, I may not read it if it's kind of mean, or, just why isn't Nessus there, or why isn't Dr. Mundo there, or something. If you want to convince me, then make it convincing. I am open-minded to these things. Besides, the definition of a tank is willy-nilly. It depends on your own interpretation of it. Pure tank, my definition of pure tank, is kind of the most vanilla out there, and is at least what makes it easy to differentiate between, a bruiser, a fighter, and a tank. So please don't be upset, and instead just, debate it out in the comment section. Thank you, and read the article.